Long ago, in a land where the morning skies glowed with shades of pink and gold, there stood two grand kingdoms side by side. Between them stretched rolling meadows filled with wildflowers, forests alive with whispering leaves, and rivers so clear that you could see the fish swimming as though they were floating in air. In the Eastern Kingdom lived Princess Amara. She was gentle and kind, her heart as soft as the petals of the roses she loved to grow in her royal garden. Every morning, she would rise before the sun and walk among the flowers, greeting them as if they were old friends. She believed that everything in nature carried a voice, one only the patient could hear. When she placed her ear close to the tulips, she was sure she could hear them sighing happily in the breeze. But Amara was not like other princesses who dreamed only of jewels, gowns, and dances. She dreamed of adventure. Of exploring the deep forests, of meeting people from distant villages, of learning stories told under starlit skies. Yet, being the only daughter of the king and queen, she was always guarded carefully. The castle walls felt like a cage at times, keeping her away from the world she longed to know. Across the river, in the Western Kingdom, there lived Prince Elias. He was admired not just for his courage but for his kindness. While knights boasted about battles, Elias found joy in listening to the tales of travelers, helping farmers gather their harvest, and playing games with the children in the villages. His laughter echoed wherever he went, and people said it carried hope with it, like sunlight breaking through the clouds. Unlike Amara, Elias's life was not quiet. He had been trained from a young age in the arts of sword fighting, archery, and riding swift horses. But what he loved most was exploring. The mountains called to him, the rivers challenged him, and the forests seemed to whisper secrets only he could hear. He often wondered what lay beyond the borders of his land, and whether destiny was waiting for him in the unknown. Though the two royal hearts were so alike, kind, curious, and full of dreams, they had never seen one another. The kingdoms had lived side by side for many years, but the rivers and forests between them kept their worlds apart. Still, as the stars watched from above, destiny was weaving a thread to bring them together. It all began on a quiet morning when Princess Amara was walking through her garden. A gentle white dove fluttered down from the sky, its wings glowing faintly in the sunlight. Tied to its leg was a small rolled letter sealed with a golden crest Amara had never seen before. Curious, she untied it carefully, her heart beating faster with each moment. The letter read, "To the one with a heart pure and brave. I seek a friend beyond the river's wave. Follow the dove, let courage be your guide. For an adventure awaits on the other side." Amara's eyes sparkled with wonder. She looked around, half expecting to see someone hiding among the trees, but there was no one. The dove cooed softly, as if urging her to follow. Little did she know, on that very same morning, Prince Elias had released the dove with a hopeful wish, that somewhere, someone as curious as he was would answer his call. And so, the story of the princess and the prince began. Princess Amara held the mysterious letter close to her chest, her heart racing with excitement. She read it again and again, the words dancing in her mind like music. To the one with a heart pure and brave, could it really be meant for her? She had always dreamed of adventure, but she never imagined that adventure might come looking for her. She followed the dove with her eyes as it perched gracefully on the garden wall, cooing softly as if urging her onward. Amara wanted to chase after it immediately, but she knew her parents would never allow her to wander far without guards. She sighed and tucked the letter into her gown. For the rest of the morning, she could not stop thinking about it. That evening, at supper, she tried to speak to her parents. "Father, mother," she said gently, "have you ever heard of a golden crest with a dove?" The king and queen looked at one another with puzzled faces. The queen shook her head. "No, my dear. Why do you ask?" "Oh. I just wondered," Amara replied quickly, hiding the letter in her lap. She was not ready to share her secret. Deep inside, she felt this adventure was hers alone to begin. Meanwhile, across the river, Prince Elias waited anxiously. He had written the letter with a simple wish, that the dove might find someone beyond his kingdom who longed for friendship and discovery. Every hour, he looked toward the horizon, wondering where the dove had flown. His heart was restless but hopeful. The next morning, the dove returned to Amara's window. This time, it carried a second note, shorter than the first. If you are willing, meet me where the forest meets the river at sunrise. You will know me by the silver pendant I wear. Amara's eyes widened. She looked out at the sunrise glowing beyond the castle walls. She knew she had to go. Gathering her courage, she decided to sneak out at dawn, when the guards were still half asleep and the world was quiet. That night, she prepared carefully. She wrapped herself in a simple cloak so she would not be recognized, and she tucked the letter safely in a small pouch. She also carried a tiny golden bell, a gift from her mother when she was a child. If you are ever lost or afraid, her mother had told her, ring this bell, and I will hear you in my heart. At the first light of dawn, Amara tiptoed through the halls of the castle. The guards yawned and stretched, too sleepy to notice the cloaked figure slipping through the gates. The air was cool and fresh, filled with the scent of dew and wildflowers. She followed the dove through winding paths, past tall oak trees and whispering willows, until she finally reached the edge of the river. The water shimmered like silver in the morning sun. And there, on the other side, stood a young man with dark hair, kind eyes, and a silver pendant shining on his chest. It was Prince Elias. For a moment, time seemed to pause. The princess and the prince looked at one another across the flowing river, as if they had known each other all their lives. Neither spoke, but their hearts already understood, their adventure was about to begin. The river between them sparkled, carrying with it the gentle sound of rushing water. Princess Amara stood on one side, her cloak brushing against the grass, while Prince Elias waited on the other. For a long moment, neither spoke, they simply gazed across the water, curious yet comforted, as if destiny itself had led them there. At last, Elias stepped forward and called out, his voice steady but warm. Were you the one who answered my letter? Amara held up the parchment she had carried with her. Yes, though I do not know why you sent it, or even who you are. The prince smiled kindly. My name is Elias, Prince of the Silverstone Kingdom. And you must be? Amara, she replied softly. Princess of the Eastern Rose Kingdom. She lowered her hood, letting the morning sun catch her golden hair. Elias bowed slightly, though his eyes shone with excitement. Then it is true. I hoped the dove would find someone beyond my land who shared the same dreams I do. Amara tilted her head curiously. Dreams? Yes, Elias said, his voice filled with longing. Dreams of a world bigger than castle walls. Dreams of adventures, of seeing mountains I've only heard of in stories, of meeting someone who longs for more than feasts and crowns. That is why I sent the letter. Amara's heart leapt. His words sounded like her very own thoughts, ones she had never spoken aloud to anyone. I feel the same, she admitted, her eyes shining. I want to see beyond my kingdom. I want to discover the wonders of the world. But my parents, they keep me safe inside the castle. I have never even crossed this river before. The prince's gaze softened. Then perhaps this is the beginning, he said gently. A beginning we can share. The dove fluttered between them, circling above as if blessing the moment. Elias then reached into his cloak and drew out a small silver pendant shaped like a star. This is my symbol of promise, he explained. If you are ever in danger, or if you ever feel alone, hold this pendant to your heart, and I will come. He placed the pendant on a smooth stone at the edge of the river, then stepped back. Amara carefully reached across the water with a long branch, pulling the stone toward her until the pendant rested in her hands. She held it close, her heart beating fast. I accept, she whispered, her voice filled with wonder. Elias smiled. Then, Princess Amara, will you join me in an adventure? Not today, not this very moment, but soon. When the time is right, we will travel together and discover the secrets of this world. Amara nodded eagerly. For the first time in her life, she felt the promise of freedom, of a journey far beyond the roses of her garden. She tucked the pendant safely into her pouch and whispered, yes. I will. And so, on the banks of the river, Beneath the rising sun, the bond between the princess and the prince was sealed, not just by words, but by a shared dream that would soon lead them into a story filled with courage, magic, and the truest kind of friendship. For several days after their meeting at the river, Princess Amara and Prince Elias could not stop thinking of each other. Whenever Amara watered her roses, she found herself glancing at the horizon, wondering what Elias was doing. And whenever Elias trained with his knights, his mind drifted back to the golden-haired princess who shared his dreams. Each morning, the dove arrived with tiny notes tied to its leg. Sometimes Elias would write about the songs he heard from the forest birds. Other times, Amara shared stories about the stars she watched from her balcony. Their messages were simple, yet they wove a secret friendship stronger than either of them had ever known. Then, one evening, as the moon rose high and the kingdom lay in silence, another note arrived. This one was different. The dove tapped gently at Amara's window, carrying a parchment sealed with silver wax. Tomorrow night, the note read, when the castle sleeps, meet me at the riverbank. Bring nothing but your courage. Our first adventure awaits. Amara's heart raced as she read the words. She tucked the note under her pillow, unable to close her eyes that night. What kind of adventure could it be? Where would Elias take her? The questions whirled in her mind until the morning sun finally arrived. All through the next day, Amara felt as though she was floating. She smiled at the guards, nodded politely during the royal council, and pretended to listen at supper, but her thoughts were far from the castle. She carefully planned her escape. At midnight, she slipped on her cloak, tied her mother's golden bell at her waist, and tiptoed through the halls. The torches flickered gently, but no one stirred. Her footsteps were as soft as whispers. When she reached the garden, the dove was waiting for her, glowing faintly in the moonlight. It cooed and fluttered, guiding her once more through the forest path. She followed quickly, her heart pounding in excitement. At the riverbank, Elias was already there, holding a lantern that glowed like a captured star. His eyes lit up when he saw her. "You came," he said softly. "Of course," Amara whispered, smiling beneath her hood. "You said it would be an adventure." Without another word, Elias led her to a small wooden boat hidden among the reeds. He helped her step inside, and together they rowed across the river, the moonlight painting silver ripples on the water. For Amara, each stroke of the oars felt like crossing into a new world. On the other side, the forest loomed tall and dark, but it was not frightening. The trees seemed alive, their leaves shimmering as though greeting the prince and princess. Fireflies danced between the branches, lighting their path like tiny lanterns. Amara gasped in wonder. "It's beautiful," she breathed. Elias grinned. "This forest holds secrets most people never see. But tonight, I will show you one of them." They walked deeper into the woods until they came to a clearing where the grass glowed faintly blue, as if the stars themselves had fallen to the earth. In the center stood a great oak tree, its trunk wider than the walls of a castle tower. Its branches stretched high into the heavens, and from them hung vines that sparkled like silver threads. "This is the star oak," Elias said reverently. "It is said to be older than both our kingdoms. Legends say its roots reach the heart of the earth, and its branches touch the edge of the skies. But few have seen it, for it only reveals itself under the full moon." Amara's eyes widened with awe. She stepped closer, her fingers brushing the glowing bark. The tree hummed softly under her touch, as though it recognized her. "It feels alive," she whispered. "It is alive," Elias replied. "And it holds magic. Watch." He lifted his silver pendant and placed it against the trunk. The oak shimmered, and suddenly, tiny lights burst from its branches, dozens, then hundreds of glowing blue butterflies took flight, swirling around them like living stars. Amara gasped, spinning with laughter as the butterflies danced in the air. For the first time, she felt the freedom she had always dreamed of. The thrill of stepping into a world filled with wonder and mystery. And as she turned to Elias, their eyes met, shining with the same unspoken thought, this was only the beginning. Hand in hand, beneath the star oak's magical glow, Princess Amara and Prince Elias sealed their promise of adventure. And little did they know, their secret journey would soon lead them into trials, dangers, and a destiny far greater than they could ever imagine. The magical butterflies swirled higher into the night sky, their glow fading as they drifted into the forest. Princess Amara and Prince Elias stood beneath the star oak, still awestruck by its beauty. But soon, the air around them began to shift. The forest, once filled with gentle whispers and the hum of crickets, grew strangely quiet. Amara shivered. Why did it grow silent? Elias tightened his grip on the lantern. The forest always balances its magic. Where there is beauty, there is also mystery. We must be careful. Just then, the ground trembled softly, and from the shadows of the trees stepped a creature unlike any Amara had ever seen. It was as tall as two men, with fur the color of midnight and eyes that glowed like embers. Its horns twisted like ancient roots, and on its back shimmered faint markings, as if painted by starlight. Amara gasped, taking a step back. What is it? Elias stood protectively in front of her. It is the guardian of the star oak. I have read of it in old scrolls. They say it tests the hearts of those who come here, to see if they are worthy of the oak's magic. The creature lowered its head, its glowing eyes fixed on them. Then, to their surprise, it spoke in a deep, rumbling voice. Two hearts stand before me, one of gold, one of silver. You seek the gifts of the forest, but gifts are not free. To pass, you must prove your courage, your kindness, and your trust in one another. Fail, and you shall be turned away forever. Amara's voice trembled. How do we prove ourselves? The guardian's eyes glowed brighter. By facing 3 trials. Each trial will test what lies within your hearts. Will you accept? Amara looked at Elias nervously, and Elias nodded firmly. We accept. The guardian lifted its great paw and pressed it against the ground. The earth rumbled, and before them appeared a path of glowing stones that led deeper into the forest. Follow the path, the guardian said. Your first trial awaits. Amara and Elias exchanged a glance, their hearts racing. Together, they stepped onto the glowing path, the star oak fading behind them. The path led them to a clearing where a river of rushing water blocked their way. The current was fierce, crashing against sharp rocks. No bridge crossed it, and the glowing stones ended at the riverbank. Elias frowned. This must be the first trial. As they looked around, a whispering voice filled the air. The river will let you pass only if you give it something of true value. Something that shows the purity of your heart. Amara clutched the silver pendant Elias had given her. She hesitated, then looked at him. Perhaps this is what it means. You trusted me with this. Maybe the river will accept it. Elias shook his head firmly. No, Amara. That pendant is my promise to protect you. I cannot let you give it away. Amara thought for a moment, then reached for the golden bell tied at her waist, the bell her mother had given her as a child. She held it in her hands, tears glimmering in her eyes. This bell is my treasure. My mother said it would keep me safe. If I give it, it means I trust that I no longer need only her protection, I can protect myself, and others, too. Before Elias could stop her, Amara knelt by the river and placed the bell upon the water. To their amazement, the current slowed, cradling the bell gently before carrying it downstream. Slowly, the waters began to part, revealing stepping stones across the river. Amara smiled through her tears. The trial is past. Elias placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. You were brave, Amara. Truly brave. Hand in hand, they crossed the stones to the other side, where the glowing path appeared once more, leading them deeper into the forest. But in the shadows, the guardian's ember-like eyes watched them with quiet approval. The Princess and the Prince, page 6. The forest grew denser as Amara and Elias followed the glowing path. The air was cooler here, and beams of moonlight trickled through the branches like silver threads. The sound of the rushing river faded behind them, replaced by the soft hum of crickets and the hoot of a distant owl. Amara's heart still ached from giving away her golden bell, but at the same time, she felt lighter. It was as though the forest had whispered back to her, reminding her that courage sometimes meant letting go. Elias walked quietly beside her, glancing at her now and then, as if admiring her strength. Before long, the glowing path opened into another clearing. In the center lay a small creature tangled in a web of thorny vines. It looked like a fox, but its fur shimmered like silver moonlight, and its tail sparkled with tiny stars. The little creature whimpered softly, struggling against the vines, which only tightened the more it moved. Amara gasped. "Oh, the poor thing." She rushed forward, but Elias caught her arm. "Careful," he warned. "This could be the second trial. The guardian may be testing us again." As if in answer, the wind carried a deep whisper. "The second trial is kindness. Will you help another, even if it slows your journey, even if there is risk to yourself?" Amara knelt beside the trapped creature. Its eyes were wide with fear, shining like tiny moons. "It's frightened," she whispered. "We can't leave it like this." Elias crouched beside her, inspecting the vines. They were sharp and twisted, glowing faintly as if enchanted. "If we cut them carelessly, they might grow back stronger. We need to be gentle." Amara reached out slowly, letting the creature sniff her hand. It whimpered once, then calmed, as though it sensed her kindness. Carefully, she began to untangle the vines, even though they scratched her hands. Elias used his dagger to cut the thicker thorns, shielding Amara when the vines snapped back. Together, they worked with patience and care. At last, the final vine broke away, and the little fox-like creature stumbled free. It shook itself, sending tiny sparks of starlight into the air. Then, with surprising grace, it leapt into Amara's arms, nuzzling her cheek. She laughed softly, cradling it. "You're safe now." The creature's starry tail swirled, and suddenly, the wounds on Amara's hands healed as if they had never been there. Elias's eyes widened. "It has magic." The little fox leapt down and circled them once, leaving glowing paw prints on the ground. Then it lifted its nose and howled, a soft, melodic sound that seemed to carry through the forest. As the sound faded, the vines that had trapped it withered away, crumbling into dust. Then, to their astonishment, the fox's voice filled their minds like a gentle echo. "Kindness is never wasted. You have freed me, and in return, I will guide you." With a flick of its starry tail, the fox bounded onto the glowing path ahead, its footprints shining like lanterns in the dark. Amara and Elias exchanged amazed smiles. "The second trial," Elias said, "is past." Amara nodded, her eyes bright with wonder. "And we are not alone anymore. We have a friend." Together, the princess, the prince, and the starry fox continued down the path. But far behind them, unseen among the trees, the guardian's ember-like eyes glowed brighter with approval. 2 trials were done. One final test remained, one that would be harder than either of them could imagine. The starry fox trotted ahead, its glowing footprints lighting the way through the forest. Amara and Elias followed closely, their hearts steady after passing the first 2 trials, yet both knew the last one would not be so simple. The forest grew darker as they went. The trees were taller here, their branches twisted into shapes that blocked out the moonlight. Strange whispers drifted through the air, as though the woods themselves were speaking. The fox paused often, flicking its star-sparkled tail as if to comfort them, before bounding forward again. At last, the glowing path ended in a wide circle of stones. In the center stood the guardian, its horns brushing the low branches, its ember-like eyes fixed upon them. The ground trembled as it spoke. 2 trials you have faced, courage and kindness, and both you passed with honor. But now comes the hardest of all. The third trial is trust. For without trust, no bond endures, no journey succeeds, and no heart is truly free. Amara and Elias stood side by side, their hands brushing together. Elias took a deep breath. "What must we do?" The guardian's gaze burned brighter. "One of you must walk into the darkness, blinded and alone. The other must guide them with only their voice. If either doubts, if either falters, the forest will swallow you, and the path will be lost. Amara's heart pounded. Walk into the darkness, alone? She swallowed hard and glanced at Elias. His eyes met hers, calm, steady, filled with quiet courage. I will be the one, Amara whispered. I trust you to guide me. Elias reached for her hand. Are you certain? I can. No, she interrupted gently. You have led me here, shown me wonders I never dreamed of. But now it is my turn to trust you completely. The guardian raised its great paw, and suddenly a wall of mist rose from the earth, thick and black as midnight. It stretched across half the circle, swallowing the trees and stars alike. The air grew cold, and even the glowing footprints of the fox vanished inside it. Amara stepped forward bravely. She closed her eyes, tied a strip of cloth across them, and took her first step into the mist. The darkness wrapped around her like a heavy cloak. She could see nothing, hear nothing but the pounding of her heart. Her voice trembled as she called out, Elias? His answer came clear and strong from beyond the mist, I am here, Amara. Take one step forward. She obeyed. The ground beneath her feet was uneven, but his voice steadied her. Now to your left, just a little. Yes, that's it. She moved carefully, her arms stretched out, trusting only the sound of Elias's words. Good. Now forward again. You're doing well. The mist thickened, curling cold fingers around her. A whispering voice echoed through it, You are alone, he cannot guide you, you will fall. Amara froze, doubt prickling her heart. What if Elias could not see her? What if she wandered the wrong way and was lost forever? As if sensing her fear, Elias's voice rang out louder, steadier than before. Do not listen, Amara. I see you. I will not let you fall. Trust me, only me. Her breath trembled, but she pressed her hand to the silver pendant he had given her. It felt warm against her chest. With renewed courage, she whispered back, I trust you, Elias. Step by step, guided by his voice, she pressed deeper into the mist. The whispers grew louder, hissing doubts into her ears, but she clung to the sound of Elias's words, steady, patient, unyielding. Finally, after what felt like hours, the mist thinned. A soft light broke through, and Amara stumbled out into the circle of stones once more. She tore off the blindfold, gasping. Elias was waiting, arms open. She rushed to him, and he caught her, steady and strong. You did it, he whispered. You trusted me. Tears glimmered in her eyes, though they were tears of joy. I knew you would never let me fall. The guardian's voice boomed through the clearing, filled with approval. You have passed the third trial. Courage, kindness, and trust now dwell within you both. Together, you are bound not only by fate, but by choice. The forest recognizes your bond. The starry fox howled, and the ground glowed beneath their feet. The stones around the circle shimmered, forming a shining path that led beyond the forest, farther than either of them had ever traveled before. The guardian bowed its great head. Your journey is only beginning. But remember, so long as you carry courage, kindness, and trust, no darkness shall overcome you. With that, the mist vanished, the whispers faded, and the forest once again filled with the gentle hum of night. Amara and Elias stood side by side, hands clasped tightly, hearts beating with the thrill of victory. They had passed all three trials. And now, a new adventure awaited them beyond the trees. The air was fresh and alive as the mist of the third trial faded into nothingness. Princess Amara and Prince Elias stood together in the circle of stones, their hands clasped tightly, the starry fox curled at their feet like a glowing guardian. For the first time, Amara felt truly free. She had faced fear, let go of something precious, and trusted with all her heart, and she had not been broken. Instead, she had grown stronger. Elias, too, looked different. Though he had always been brave, there was now a quiet certainty in his eyes, as if he had finally found the companion destiny had promised him. The guardian's ember eyes softened as it stepped back into the shadows. You have proven yourselves worthy. The Star Oak's blessing is now upon you. Follow the path, it will lead you beyond the forest, to where your true journey begins." With that, the great beast vanished, leaving only the faint scent of earth and embers. The fox barked softly and bounded ahead, its starry tail glowing brightly. A golden path unfurled before them, winding between the trees and stretching far into the distance. Amara and Elias exchanged a look of wonder and determination, then stepped forward together. As they walked, the forest began to change. The trees thinned, and the ground rose gently. Soon they found themselves on a hilltop overlooking a vast valley neither of them had ever seen before. Amara gasped, her eyes widening at the breathtaking sight. The valley stretched for miles, filled with shimmering lakes, silver waterfalls that tumbled from cliffs, and fields glowing with flowers that seemed to change color with every breeze. But in the distance, beyond the beauty, rose a shadow, a dark mountain shrouded in swirling clouds. At its peak flickered a strange red glow, like fire trapped within stone. Elias's expression grew serious. "That is no ordinary mountain." The fox's voice echoed softly in their minds. "Beyond this valley lies the hidden kingdom, forgotten by your people, but still alive in secret. Its lands are bound by an ancient curse. To break it, two hearts joined in courage, kindness, and trust must journey there. That is why you were brought together." Amara's heart skipped a beat. The hidden kingdom. I've heard whispers in old stories, but I thought it was only a legend. It seems the legend is real, Elias said firmly. And perhaps this is the destiny the dove carried us toward. They descended into the valley, guided by the fox. Along the way, they saw wonders unlike anything in their kingdoms, trees with crystal leaves that rang like bells when touched by the wind, rivers that glowed faintly blue under the moonlight, and birds whose feathers shimmered like rainbows. Amara's eyes shone with delight at each discovery, and Elias found joy in watching her wonder. But beauty was not all the valley held. Strange signs of darkness began to appear the closer they came to the mountain, flowers that had withered to ash, trees with twisted branches, and pools of water blackened as if poisoned. The cheerful songs of birds grew silent. By the time the sun dipped behind the hills, they reached the edge of a small abandoned village. The houses, made of stone and wood, were broken and empty, their windows shattered. A chill lingered in the air, though no storm passed overhead. Amara hugged her cloak around her shoulders. "It feels lonely here." Elias placed a reassuring hand on her arm. "Not lonely, forgotten. Whatever curse has spread from the mountain has touched this place too." The fox padded to the center of the village and sat, its eyes glowing like tiny stars. "This is the first sign of the hidden kingdom's sorrow. Long ago, it was a place of joy and light, but darkness has grown from the mountain's heart. To heal it, you must travel deeper, to where the curse began." Amara looked at Elias, her voice quiet but steady. "Then that is where we must go." Elias nodded. Together. As night settled over the valley, they lit a small fire in the abandoned village, resting side by side beneath the stars. The fox curled at their feet, keeping watch. The road ahead was uncertain, filled with shadows and danger. But as Amara closed her eyes, she held the silver pendant against her chest, comforted by its warmth. Elias glanced at her sleeping face and whispered softly, "I promised you an adventure, Amara. And I will keep that promise, even if it takes us into the heart of darkness." And so, under the watchful eyes of the stars, the princess and the prince prepared to step beyond all they had ever known, into the mysteries of the hidden kingdom. Dawn broke over the valley, the sky painted in streaks of gold and crimson. Princess Amara and Prince Elias awoke in the abandoned village, their fire reduced to faint embers. The starry fox stretched and yawned, its glowing tail flicking as if urging them onward. With renewed courage, they left the ruins behind and followed the path toward the dark mountain. The land grew quieter, emptier. Even the wind seemed to hesitate, carrying with it the faint scent of smoke and something far older, something heavy, like sorrow. Soon, they reached the edge of a forest unlike any they had seen before. The trees were tall and blackened, their branches twisted into shapes that clawed at the sky. No leaves grew upon them, yet they whispered and creaked as though alive. A heavy mist curled along the ground, and shadows moved between the trunks, though no sun shone to cast them. Amara shivered. This forest, it feels wrong. The fox's voice echoed in their minds. This is the forest of whispers. It is the gateway to the hidden kingdom. But beware, the shadows here do not belong to the trees. They belong to the curse. And they hunger for fear. Elias placed a reassuring hand on Amara's shoulder. We have faced trials before. We can face this too. Together, they stepped into the forest. Instantly, the air grew colder, and the mist swirled around their feet. The shadows slithered along the trunks, stretching long, then snapping back. Faint voices began to echo through the trees, soft, mocking whispers that seemed to crawl beneath their skin. Amara, you are not strong enough. Elias, you will fail her. Turn back, before it is too late. Amara clutched the pendant at her chest, her breath quickening. They're trying to frighten us. Then let them try, Elias said firmly, though his hand tightened on the hilt of his sword. The deeper they walked, the stronger the whispers became. The shadows thickened, curling into shapes. Arms reaching, eyes glowing faintly, mouths that stretched into silent screams. The forest seemed alive with darkness, closing in on every side. Suddenly, one of the shadows surged forward, rising from the mist like a towering figure. Its eyes blazed red, and its voice roared through the forest. You do not belong here. The hidden kingdom is lost. Leave now, or be lost with it. Amara and Elias froze. The fox barked sharply, its tail glowing brighter, but even its light seemed swallowed by the shadow. Elias raised his sword, but the shadow only laughed, its voice shaking the trees. Amara stepped forward, her heart pounding, yet her voice rang clear. We will not turn back. If the hidden kingdom is cursed, then we will fight to free it. The shadow paused, its fiery eyes narrowing. Then it stretched higher, looming like a storm. So be it. If you wish to face the curse, you must face the truth, and the truth will tear you apart. Before either could react, the ground split beneath them. The forest trembled violently, and the mist swallowed everything in sight. Amara's hand slipped from Elias's grasp as the earth crumbled away, pulling them into darkness. Elias, she cried. Amara, his voice echoed, growing distant. The last thing Amara saw before the shadows consumed her was the fox leaping into the void after them, its glowing tail the only light in the darkness. Then all went silent. And so, the princess and the prince vanished into the heart of the curse, together, yet apart, while the forest whispered above, waiting for their return. To be continued. End of Book 1. The Princess and the Prince, Shadows of the Hidden Kingdom teaser. Princess Amara and Prince Elias thought their greatest trials were behind them, but the hidden kingdom has secrets darker than they ever imagined. Lost in the forest of whispers, surrounded by shadows that feed on fear, the brave princess and prince must rely on courage, kindness, and trust like never before. With the starry fox by their side, they will uncover ancient magic, meet mysterious allies, and face challenges that could separate them forever. Will they survive the heart of the curse, and save the hidden kingdom from falling into darkness? Adventure awaits, if they are brave enough to take the next step.